Hey guys!
Hello!
Welcome to another Swanky Paint video. This time it's Alpha+8b.
8b.
Ooh. Oh, version 15.184. This time we have quite a few features and changes. And let's start with the first one, which is fix trace shaders so they compile on more hardware.
Yeah, nothing to see here for any of that. That just means it stopped crashing on Android. That's basically what I did there. Android and the native client one, I think, was also crashing.
Oh,
so yeah, I fixed those two and it stopped crashing. That was why it was a black. Remember you got the black?
Oh yes, the
complaint?
black screen. Yeah, it was happening on a few users who said they couldn't do anything. It was just...
Yeah, I just typed 1 instead of 1.0 in the shader code. It's nothing, but it's just fixed anyway.
That's good. The next one is app icon in Alt tab and taskbar.
Oh, yep. So if you're running the Linux version, we now have an actual icon.
It's the Swan King,
which you can see there, and it also sort of shows up in the.
All hail the Swan King.
It shows up in, well, you know, it's a Linux icon, but it's not actually working for OS X or Windows yet, so you still won't see any difference. But we do have an actual icon there now. As soon as I fix the code, it'll work on the other stuff too.
Cool. The next two are actually requests from a user. Hello, Christian! Thank you for your feature requests. So the two feature requests are: 1, trace alpha slider can cause it to draw over the main image. Hopefully this is what you wanted.
Yeah, I'm just guessing what you wanted, but what I did, right? So I've got, let's go back to the tracing stuff that I did for the last release. If we load in a background image, there we go. Okay, so that's the background image, and before the slider went up to 1, right? And it went up to 1, and at that point you can still draw over the top, but it was like fully non-transparent in the background. But now it goes up to 2 and begins to sort of go over the top of the pixels, so that you can choose to either have no backgrounds, the background behind, or the background sort of coming over the top, which you can see is a bit harder to draw, but it also lets you know if you're doing it right. So you can have like a slight overdraw like that, which is going to be easier for drawing pixels, but also kind of harder until you take it away again. So it's like it's a bit more control there. See?
Yes, it goes up to 2. Yeah. Hopefully you can go up to 11.
Yep. As soon as I work out what 3, 4, 5, etc. do, that slider will be going up to 11.
Right, and the next feature is Spritesheet. To new animation using brush pickup location and size.
Spritesheet to new animation. So this is anim from Spritesheet in the file menu, and what it does is it creates an anim using the location that you last picked up. So if you have like a bunch of frames on a static image, and then you select, say, a small area like that, what will happen when you select that menu item is, as well as that first one you selected, it will get the one to the right, the one to the right, all the same size. It'll just go across till it runs out of space, and it go down and across till it runs out of space. So if I do it now, I'll get an animation that isn't very good, but you'll see it has a lot of frames, and it's just cut across, chopped that image into a bunch of individual frames.
Could
basically.
You open the original Swanky Paint image?
The original Swanky Paint image.
So it has more stuff on the screen.
I don't understand what
the
you mean.
Swan King.
The Swan King. You want me to go back to that and do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna, as you can see, I'm gonna pick up like a 16 by 6 now. Let's make it 24 by 24. So I'll pick up that area there, and then it'll pick up that area next to it. Then it'll miss this bit, or it will crash. I don't know if I've tested this, but it'll hopefully miss this bit, and then it'll go back under and pick up that one. And again, for a full frame, picking up there. So they're all the same size, and as you can see, it'll run out of space before it does anything else. That's kind of how it's going to work. So if I select the area just by picking up a brush, and then file, anim from Spritesheet, hopefully this has now picked up what I said it was going to do, which is those 4 frames, which are the size of the... So basically, if you start with a Spritesheet and you select one sprite, and then it will just grab the rest, provided they're all laid out in the same
dimension,
size.
Size.
So you just select the first one, and then that menu thing will just go...
That's wonderful, that's
and
great.
pick up all the rest and turn it into an animation like that.
That's cool.
So it's an easy way of turning a flat image into an animation for animatoring.
Lovely. So there you go, Christian. I hope that was what you wanted.
Yeah, I hope that's what you wanted. Otherwise, we'll try again.
Alright, so the next one is individual settings for each image buffer.
Yes, so now when you go between the images, it actually remembers, say, the scale. So you can see that one's like scaled out. This one is like scaled in, and let's say I sort of move over here, and then this one, well, I'll sort of move over there and scale in a lot. So as I'm swapping between them, you can see that it's remembering
That's great.
all of the settings.
Yeah.
So if I was on there, and if I change, any of this stuff, so you can change the pixel fatness on that one, and it will remember that, and it will come back when you come back to it.
That's great.
And the same with the frame number. So whatever frame number you're on, when you go away, when you come back, it's on the same one. So it's just all of this stuff has been compartmentalized into the image buffers, so you can switch back and forth much faster.
That's much better than before, where if you did something, it applied to every image you had open.
Yes. Now it's a bit more, you go between the images and it behaves itself a bit better. It's just general improvement.
Wonderful. The next one is load and save settings inside PNGs, inside the JSON text chunk.
Yeah, that's basically a bit of magic where all of these settings that are now saved for each of the individual images. I'm also saving them inside PNGs when you save a PNG. So whatever settings you've set up when you save a PNG, it'll get squirted inside. When you load it back in, it will have remembered everything. So it's just settings, but it's all just inside a PNG file. So it's not a magical file. I haven't added anything to it. I've just added an extra text chunk, which I've called JSON. So it's JSON chunk, and it's just a dump of the settings. So next time it loads up, it'll be better. But you've got to use PNG for it to actually save, because that was the only one I've added it for.
Cool. Great.
That's good.
The next one is animated PNGs added, and now the preferred animation format.
Yes, so nowadays, GIFs, they don't really cut it, but nobody's kind of produced a working animation image. They're all kind of terrible. There was MNG, but it's a little bit over-designed, and it's bad. So there is this hack that's been pushed by Mozilla, which is to just put multiple frames inside a PNG, and it's called a PNG, animated PNG. And that seems to be the best option. So I've added support for that. And now by default, when it saves, it's not going to save a GIF. It's going to save just a PNG file with multiple frames. And that will work in Firefox, but it won't work in Chrome. So you can look at them in Firefox. You'll need a magical APNG plugin before you'll look at them in Chrome and some other browsers as well. But it's a format that people are using, and it's actually much better than GIF, so it makes sense to use it. You can still save as GIF if you just change the file name from .png to .gif.
.gif, yeah.
But it's by default I'm choosing everything's going to be PNG basically. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be loading and saving PNGs. I'm not going to do anything else.
Okay,
yep.
That's great. Just remember, if you want it to work in browsers apart from Firefox,
well, you can still export to GIF, right? You can still export to GIF,
yeah.
But when you're actually working with stuff, then yes, load and save as an animated PNG or whatever you want to use. But
cool. The next one is Rechop layers using last brush pickup size.
That's remarkably similar to the one that I just showed you. It's just, say I pick up that area, and then I go to layer and I go to Rechop. There's a Rechop by brush size, which will use the brush size to chop it into layers.
That's great.
So rather than having to type them in,
instead of frames, it goes layers. Is that it?
It's the same as the frames one, but it's for layers. It's basically pretty much the same thing, but it uses layers, and that's it really. The thing about layers is because it's going to be a bit more complicated. It doesn't matter whereabouts you pick up the image, it's just the size of the image, and then it breaks it down using the size of what you picked up, not the location. But if you see what I did there, then that kind of explains it, I think. Yeah,
just remember that if you want to make an animation, don't use layers, use frames.
Or not, you can use frames or layers, depending on what you want as an output. But
yeah, different varieties of ways.
It doesn't really make much difference.
And the last one, the final new thing is swap frames and layers, which produces a strict layout only.
Okay, so that's just a way of swapping between frames and layers if you started making frames and you decided you want them to be layers, or vice versa. So if I go to one of these ones that I just made, that one, that's like, okay, so this has got like 4 frames, but no layers, right? Oops, wrong one. 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, and no layers. So no layers there, but it's got 4 frames. If I do the swap frames with layers, it will now have no frames, but 4 layers, and it's also laid it out. So if I join those back together, you see it's put them side by side.
It produces a strip layout.
Yeah, so it produces it side by side. It doesn't. I want to do it smarter, so it sort of squishes it into the smallest sort of square texture it can get away with, because that's better. But for now, it just shoves them all in a strip, and that'll do. So that's kind of what it does.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is that it?
That is it for Alpha+8b.
8b.
8b. Hey. Alright, so see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Yes, goodbye.
Bye.